Jack's Better Pizza. Better like Jets Detroit.
Okay, I'll call to order the Tuesday, November 27th, 2018 regular board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Southgate's mission statement is learning for life. The vision statement, Southgate Community Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion on the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Have a motion to approve the agenda. Is there support? Support. Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that passes. And we have an agenda. First item is citizens' comments. Is there anybody who would like to speak tonight? Please come forward. Hi.
Is there a sign-in sheet?
No, if you can give us your name and address for the record.
Okay, Linda Clark, 19278 Orchard Street here in Southgate.
Thank you.
I'm a resident. I have a daughter who graduated from Anderson in 2017. And I'm an employee of the food service department at Davidson Middle School. I picked this meeting to talk because something came up this week and I'm really disappointed at this point. After all we went through last year with the negotiations and the discovery that things in our department weren't that great, and we had a plan to turn things around, so a lot of us decided to stay, even though some of our coworkers jumped ship and went on to greener pastures and more pay and whatever. We wanted to be team players. We're invested in the school, we're invested in the community. But right now we feel like we were kind of misled a little bit. We started out at Davidson this year with 4 of us covering 7 positions. That was cut back from 8 from last year. And we agreed to do that because management assured us that if we had to work extra because we were missing people, like do above and beyond our job description. And don't get me wrong, nobody I work with ever says, that's not my job description. But you know, there is a finite amount of work that you have to do, and then if someone doesn't come in, excuse me, we all pitch in and we do the rest of it. That we would be paid extra for that. And up until this week, management has kept its word. But we've been told that that's stopping now. We aren't going to get paid extra if we have to cover a position that's not being filled. And in addition to that, we're not going to fill that bottom position. So now we're going to be, how many of us are there? I'm sorry. There's going to be 5 of us, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us covering the jobs that 8 of us used to do last year. I think in management's effort to achieve the meals served per labor hour numbers that they're looking for, and I know numbers are important, but I've been in food service most of my life, and I also know that customers are what's really important. If you want sales, you got to keep your customers happy. I think we're going to go backwards. The more we cut back on the people and the staff, the longer the kids have to stand in line. The longer the kids have to stand in line, the more of them are going to bring a lunch, and the less meals we're going to sell. So we're actually, contrary to our plan at the beginning of the year, was let's do everything we can to increase participation. And we were all on board for that. We want to increase participation. We like selling food. That's why we're in the schools. We like giving pizza to the kids. At this point, we're almost 3 months into the school year. We haven't seen anything. We haven't been directed to make any change that would increase participation. We did go from Domino's Pizza to the homemade pizza, and I thought it looked good. I tasted it. It tasted pretty good. But when you ask the kids, isn't this great? We got homemade pizza. We're making it ourselves. Doesn't it taste better than Domino's? They go, nah, it's about the same. So that isn't really helping. I can't really believe, with all the trouble we have in our department financially, that cutting a few more hours, like the job at our building that we hear that we're not going to fill, is 3.5 hours a day. So now you're talking $10.62 an hour, under $40. That's not going to solve our department's financial woes. But what it's going to do is make disgruntled employees and longer lunch lines. And I'm sorry to say, you might lose some of these people that decided to stay because they're invested in our community and invested in our school system, our district. Because they can go down the road like some of my other coworkers did and find another job for more money within a week. It's that easy.
Sorry, I do need you to wrap it up.
All right.
We have 3
I'm sorry.
minutes. Sorry.
I was trying to slow it down so I didn't talk too fast. There's one other thing that I want to bring up that's really making people feel unappreciated. In food service, I've always heard, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. I have no problem with that. I expect that. If I got time to lean, I got time to clean. But now I'm told we're not supposed to have enough time to look for things to do. Because if I look for things to do, it means I must be here for more hours than I'm supposed to be. Today, I had 10 minutes before we had to serve lunch. My coworkers and I went out and putty knives and scraped all the gum off the bottom of the serving line. If I hadn't had that 10 minutes to look for something to do, that gum would still be there. So I think management is going in the wrong direction. One more thing. I just want to invite you, before you cut more jobs, eliminate jobs, cut hours, I wish you would come to Davidson. If you have time, spend the morning with us. See if we're standing around chit-chatting or if we're actually working all those hours. And stay for lunch and see what it looks like when the last 10, 15 kids in the line only have 5 minutes to eat. Because 2 lunch lines at Davidson is not enough. And if we don't hire that bottom person, we can never, ever open a 3rd lunch line. We won't have enough people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak tonight? Please come forward. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Robert Hines. My address is 12055 Ford Line in Southgate. My wife is the head cook, head person at Anderson, and almost every day she brings home work, paperwork, because she does not have time to do it at work. They are short of people. People are going to be eliminated, time cut, and I am quite a union man. I deal with the UAW, United Steelworkers, and others. So, if they go to cut time, I keep telling my wife, put in your time, start right at the second, quit right at the second. She is entitled to lunch, she's entitled to breaks, which she never takes. She doesn't get that, as it's put, she doesn't need it by a person that is the head of the department. So, I mentioned last year, maybe what you people should do is start looking at, gee, you know, we have security in the school, but what is the matter with all of these people, these outside vendors bringing in food? Gee, are we losing money because of it? Because you had a shortage. Yes, they're losing money, but they keep letting the vendors come in. Who's to say what the vendors are carrying in their containers? We are very lucky that nothing has happened. Should that be stopped? I 100% believe it. I mean, if a parent wants to bring their kid food, that's fine. But should all these delivery places be permitted to come and do that? I'm sorry, I don't believe so. Pretty soon they're going to be pulling up a catering truck outside the door and letting the kids go out and order from a catering truck. And what's going to happen with this food service? You're going to end up with 10 or 12 catering trucks parked out front. And you won't have lunches. And who's going to keep track of who's free, who's reduced, who's this, who's that? And it's going to be going down the drain. So maybe something needs to be revamped. Maybe, and I even tried to find out, how do you get a job at the school district for the lunch program? Well, you have to pay and get fingerprinted and your background check. How much is that? Oh, it's about $75. I have to pay that for a job that only gives me 2.5 hours? Now, what's wrong with that? 2.5 hours, you know, how long does it take to recoup that $75 when I can go down to Walmart's and make 15 bucks an hour, which is more than all of these people make, and I can tell them, I want to work these hours, and they go, fine, work. You can go almost any fast food, any place around here. Everybody is hiring. But do I want to fork out $75 to get a background check, which I have done every year through the federal government, but that's not accepted through the school district? So, oh gee, that's a shame. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak tonight? Please come forward.
Hi. My name is Peggy Harden, address 5961 Oldham, Taylor, Michigan. I work for the school food service department. My concern is when things were brought up to us because of our last management about spending money, I realized we were in a serious hole. We didn't create that hole, but yet we're being punished for that hole. I also am concerned with what we're allowing or being bought, things that we don't need right now. I understand that Mark, and I agreed with him and I told him this, that yes, I agree things need to look good. The kids need to see what they, see something, like it, and come in and get it. I get that. But you can't, unfortunately, in my opinion only probably, you can't do that at this point. If we're that far in a hole, we can't spend, even if it is a cheaper something, for eye candy. What we need to do is keep our department afloat, give these kids good lunches, because that's the only reason we're here is to feed these kids, or we wouldn't be here, as long as we have been, some of us. I think that we need to keep it as low as possible, which I talked to Mark about, and he said he was going to do that. But sometimes the money that you guys may deem, or whoever, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but who everybody else is deciding what our department is spending money on. Did you ever ask any of us? No. We're the ones who work in it, with it, every single day trying to do our best for these kids, but we don't get asked nothing. But yet they spent our money. They, meaning past management. I don't know who it gets approved by. I've never been to one of these board meetings. I never planned on coming to a board meeting because I always felt respected and I felt we were doing what we had needed to do for the children. I don't feel that anymore.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. And that takes us on to presentations. First presentation is Employee of the Month. Mr. Rob Wolsick.
Good evening. I find myself before you once again. I'm so happy to be here. Members of the Board of Education, it is with great pride that I'm able to present to you before this evening. Tonight we recognize an individual who puts forth both character and work ethic on a daily basis. This work ethic and the pride that he takes in his service of this district is exemplary. He does so each and every single day. This pride is admirable and is exactly what the school board would want out of every employee. Mr. Brian Wallace has worked for the Southgate Community School District since 2010. He has primarily worked as the head lead custodian at Grogan, serving in a short capacity as the district courier. Mr. Brian does such a variety of jobs at Grogan. He opens the buildings, he maintains the security throughout the day, he puts things together, he takes things apart, he makes sure that the school is run and operates on a daily basis. He helps supervise the evening staff, and he provides that supervisory leadership in my absence. He's a valued employee, and he volunteers not only as an employee, but he is a grandfather of 2 children, Gabriel and Wyatt. So please, at this time, please welcome him as the Grogan Elementary School November Employee of the Month, Mr. Wallace. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Any questions? He is accompanied by his wife Margie in the back here, and I think this is a great opportunity for them to get out and not provide babysitting services tonight. We still have a couple of our employees here, Ms. Swistera, who works in the office, and Ms. Smith, who is one of our interventionists, who are here to support Mr. Bryan also.
Mr. President.
Mr. Green.
Brian, my man. So I just want to let everybody know that Brian is, my daughter goes to Grogan, and I'm there a lot, not in a school board capacity, maybe once in a while, but as a parent. He is always there. He says hi to all the kids. He's in the hallway. He always stops and talks to me, asks me how I'm doing, and I try to ask him how he's doing. And he loves Grogan. The kids love him, and my daughter loves him, and I appreciate everything you do as a father. So congratulations, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
takes us to our second presentation tonight, which is a food service report. Mr. Rodriguez.
Two employee of the month. Custodial staff. For that second.
Mr. Frank.
I think it is, because I can see it from here.
It's slowly coming on. I don't know if you can see it or not. Well, good evening, the board. My name is Mark Rodriguez. I'm the food director for Southgate. I am also the food service director for Lincoln Park and Wyandotte schools, so I have a lot going on every day. But I just wanted to give you an update with food services, where we're at, where we should be, and some action plans for this year. I started in August 2018, and one of the things I noticed immediately was that the director's office was away from where all the action is. Davidson is where we have most of our Gordon deliveries. We also have, that's our warehouse. We supply the elementary schools with food from this location. The food service coordinator is also at this location, so I felt it was best that the food director is, best at this location. I can work with the coordinator better. Communication is better. So luckily there was a storage area that lent itself to a nice director's office. So in August, last year with the old director, Domino's increased their prices by 12%, which is a significant increase. This was due to there was new owners of Domino's here in Southgate, and they were pretty aggressive with their pricing. But when I started in August, I just felt that wasn't in line with what I should be paying. So I did put that out for bid immediately in August. School was only a month away, so I did it pretty quickly and contacted pizza vendors in the area that could supply this demand. And Cottage Inn was awarded the contract for this school year. So by doing this pizza bid, we actually saved like $2,400 in pizza purchases for this school year. And just on average, the district spends, the food service spends approximately $40,000 a year with branded pizza. And again, these are for elementary schools right now. Let's see. And, we have cooks, we have ovens, but yet pizza was brought in every day at Anderson and Davidson. To me, being in food service for many years, it didn't make sense. You have staff, you have ovens, let's use them, let's use our resources. So I've had great success with Schwan's Pizza. It's a nationally recognized brand, and they make quality commercial pizza products for schools. I use them in every kitchen that I operate. In Lincoln Park High School, Lincoln Park Middle School, Wyandotte Wilson Middle School, Roosevelt High School, and so I implemented it here at Anderson and Davidson. Again, it's a great product. You can add to the pizza different toppings. I know right now we're just doing the pizza, the cheese and pepperoni and cheese only, but there's a lot more that we could be doing with this product, and kids love it. Even staff love it as well. So this is, I know we had some people that spoke this evening, but when I came into Southgate, I knew that that labor was, I don't want to say an issue, but labor was one of the contributing factors to our deficit. We were at 63% of our budget was on labor. I've been in school food service for 25 years. Labor should be in the 45% range. So there's an industry standard that's used. It's called meals per labor hour, and that determines your productivity of your kitchens. So it's looking at all your sales, your breakfast sales, your lunch sales, your a la carte sales, and coming up with that figure and dividing it by the amount of hours that's worked. Pretty simple. So the industry standard is between 18 and 22. This is nationally. This is not Michigan. This is nationally with the National School Lunch Program. So we did reduce some labor here already since September. Right now, this October, we're at 15.23. Last year, we were at 14.16. So we've made some improvement, but we're not even close to the national average for meals per labor hour. We did reduce 12 hours from the department, but again, it's still below the industry standard. And we have seen a slight decrease in meal and breakfast participation. And again, I think that's related to the enrollment. It wasn't much, but when you lose enrollment, you're serving less meals. And that's really what's been going on in this department for the last 10, 12 years. So I believe that they were staffed the way it was 12 years ago, but you know, our enrollment is like 35 or 3,600. So we just have to change what we're doing to survive. I'm just going to throw this out there. The Lincoln Park, their meals per labor hour is 25 and Wyandott's 24. We're at 15. So there is definitely room for improvement. So at Anderson, there's 3 serving lines inside, and then there was 1 that was outside in the cafeteria. So as much as I hate to shut down serving lines, because that's not what I like to do, looking at the numbers that were, the meals that were being served did not justify a 4th serving line in the cafeteria. And that's where we eliminated 2 people. We reduced a serving line. We reduced 8.5 hours here, and participation remained the same. So we reduced lines, but yet students are still using the service like they did the previous year. So just in 2 months, if you look at Anderson, the meals per labor hour, due to the changes, October 2017, we're at 12.64% meals per labor hour. October 2018, we're at 15.1, so we made a significant improvement there. And at Davidson, by eliminating that 1 position, last year was 13.75 meals per labor hour, now it's 15.36. And if one of the employees was referring about a position that we might cut, that could put us at 17 meals per labor hour if we didn't replace that position. And just some of the things that do affect the food service department, we have an open campus. So juniors and seniors can leave. So obviously when they leave, they don't buy anything from us and they're buying it somewhere else. And then food is brought in from different sources. Again, those are our competitors. The district has half days. I was just comparing it with some other districts, and I know you meet the amount of days for the school year, but each half day affects food service. So if we don't serve meals, we don't have revenue. And just snow days, when that happens, hopefully not soon, but when we have snow days, our staff do get paid for that day, and we have no revenue coming in. And then vending sales, there's vending machines at the high school and at Davidson, and I believe those proceeds go to either the building or some other department. We also provide meals to St. Pius School. So we average between 50 and 80 meals per day, about 16 days a month. So the price that we charge really has been looked at in quite a few years. So I proposed that and I notified them back in September that we're going to have to raise our rates by 25 cents. So they're okay with that. They realize that it's been years since we had an increase. So starting January, we're increasing our price by a quarter to the school for all the meals that we serve. And they requested some menu items that the management before really wasn't willing to make, but I'm all about the customer. You know, if they're asking for it, let's give it to them. They don't have to meet any national USDA school guidelines, so we can give them like whatever they want, really, as long as it's within reason. We also implemented a 15% service fee for for example, Latchkey, they order product from us monthly, and last year we were just selling it at the regular price. There's a lot involved when we do that. There's our ordering, there's the accepting delivery from Gordon's, it's separating the order, it's delivering it to the schools, and creating invoices. So there's a lot of time that's spent when they order product from us. And they're also getting a discount because we belong to HPS, and so we're getting great pricing. So they're actually getting a pretty good deal already. So in Lincoln Park, I work with Eastern Michigan University, and I work with a lot of intern students every year. I've been doing that for quite a few years now. And so they help me with student sampling, surveys. So in October, it was the last day that they were going to be here, and because I wanted to make changes at Anderson, I had them go to Anderson and survey students, because I noticed that there's a lot of students that do not eat lunch. And I couldn't understand why, and so they surveyed the high school students, and 47% said that they don't use the school lunch, and 53% said yes. But as I thought about this, there's a lot of kids that left that they didn't survey. So there's probably a lot more that don't use our service. So they asked them, if you don't use our service, why? 10% said there was not a wide variety. 15% said that they pack a lunch. 24% said for other reasons. And 34% said food is not good. So when I look at this, I'm putting the 10% and 34%. That's telling me that 44% are not happy with food service. So we were asking, well, what would you like? So there was a lot of requests for Asian food and like Subway. So what I'd like to do is, starting in January, when the kids come back from winter recess, I like to add signage, make it more appealing for the students, have food concepts. We do have a pizza station, but I think we really need to present it in a professional way that the kids will really, I want to wow them when they come back. And we're going to have a deli station. I call it our version of Subway, made to order sandwiches. And then we'll have a burger station, and then a rotating specials that could include the Asian food. And again, it's all about presentation. So that's what we're going to focus on. And actually, the Anderson staff visited one of my schools in Lincoln Park to see what we're doing there, because that's exactly what we're going to do at Anderson for the kids. And that's all I have.
All right. Dr. Pomponio.
I have several. So my concern was initially when we had the issue of finances for the food service, and then unhappy workers. So those are my concerns from the point of the problem that we had initially that we learned until this point. So are we trying to balance a current budget, or are we trying to meet the needs of the students? So what are we working at right now as the goal, what you're working on?
Well, it's actually both simultaneously. I mean, we have to, the surveys are saying the kids do not like the food. So that's an issue. At the same time, we have to reduce labor. So it's both.
Okay, I know there's expenses happening other places in the district, and I do think that it's very important food service for our kids, our students. So initially when that came up, I knew that that was a big problem. So first of all, it's important that we balance the budget, but that we also do it with the appropriate needs of our students, because I have a granddaughter in an elementary school, and I have a daughter in high school. And some other parents that I talk to, they talk about the time of the lunches. I haven't made it into the buildings yet to check it out yet, but they're not eating. And so I want to know what the times are for the times they're spent in line, and what they're eating. So what are the times for the elementary, middle school, and high school for lunch times? Does anybody have that?
Yeah, they're all different according to the building schedule, but often they're posted online, or the administrators can send you the exact. So for example, I was at Ford Line today. They start serving kindergartners and third graders at 11:30. So
how long do they have to eat?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
At the elementary.
Okay, so
At the high school, they have 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a long time, 45 minutes. I mean, the last kid that goes through probably has 20 minutes still, at least.
okay, so working within the budget that you have to work with, how do we fix the problems that are currently out there? Because I always say if I don't see it, I don't say anything, but if I hear it, I want to know how we can fix it. Because if my granddaughter's in line and she decides she's not going to eat, she comes running home hungry because she's not really eating a lot, and I don't know why. She says she don't have enough time. I don't know why. I don't know what the issues are. And my daughter, the same thing. So I want to find out. But how do we balance the budget and still get the kids fed if they can't eat, if they're waiting in line, if they can't get, they go sit down after waiting in line? If that's a problem, that's got to be fixed. And the other thing I'm concerned about is our employees. We have employees who have come to us as a board stating that they're unhappy. How do we fix? I mean, this isn't something that you look over or gloss over. You have to figure out what are we doing to make them happy. We want to keep the employees. And are they overworked? Are they getting paid for hours that they're not working? Because if it's brought to my attention, I want to know what the plan is that we're going to fix the problem. It's a problem.
Right. Well, again, that meals per labor hour is just saying a lot. I mean, it's when you're at 15 meals per labor hour for the district, and others are 10 higher than that. I mean, that's telling you right there that production is just, and I'm not saying they're not hard workers. This is not a reflection on them. It's a situation with a decline in enrollment. Changes have to be made, and yes, changes is hard, but they have to be made if we want to have a balanced budget.
So if there were more staff, would that help the kids get through the lines quicker and maybe purchase more? I don't understand.
Well, we've challenged them, though, with meeting a budget. I mean, we could hire 40 more, and the lines would go quicker, but we don't have the budget for that.
Well,
May I?
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, budget or not, we better find a way, because if my daughter has 5 minutes to eat lunch, I'm going to be right back at this board myself.
Well, I've never heard of, excuse me, I'm sorry, we don't get any more audience participation at this point.
But I'm just saying is that there's.
But I haven't heard of any problems with the elementary schools with time.
I have, and I do want to address them because they are problems. And first of all, when the employees come to the board and they're saying we're hard workers, and I believe it, and there's a problem, they're not wasting their time coming to us saying, well, we're just, going with the flow. We like how things are. I have a problem with that because I'm also seeing a problem at the other end where my granddaughter just starting in the Southgate Community Schools, she's not eating. And I want to find out why. There's only, in 20 minutes, is there a long line? If she's getting to her table in 5 minutes, that's a problem. And if we're buying we're spending money over here, $20,000 or $15,000, to me, I feel like we need to look at that and figure out how we can fix this. We need to add more to the budget. But I don't know how it got messed up or why, but we need to fix it. But first of all, we need to make sure that the students are eating, and if it's not good food, we need to fix it. But if they're waiting in line and not having enough time for lunch, we need to fix that too. I mean, we can't just constantly say we're working within this budget. I want the kids to eat. So
I haven't been to a elementary lunch in a couple of years, but I did several when I watchdogged, and I'll tell you, I never saw anybody who didn't have time.
My granddaughter's complaining, and my daughter's kind of. I want to come in to see what's going on. I did it a while back, but
I mean,
then
my
older daughter's saying the same thing.
Lunch is mixed with recess. They're not going to make them miss recess for lack of.
Sometimes they do have recess first. I happened to be at Ford Line today for lunch, and they had plenty of time to eat. So I would encourage you to go and check out the the school lunch at lunchtime. I know when Mr. Craig had heard some things, he went and checked out the high school, and that way you can see for yourself.
Right. I guess my main concern is the budget. We need to figure out how we can either add more to this budget if there's, if they're cutting and there's not enough staff, because I feel like if they're saying there's not enough staff working, or the staff currently that's overworked or trying to fill in for other positions that are not there, then there's longer lines. If there's longer lines, then there's less time for the kids to eat. So I just think this is a priority we need to take a look at, because the students need to be able to eat and have enough time.
Mr. Freitas.
Yes, I had a question. You had mentioned the number of half-days compared to other districts. Does the number of half-days figure into the meals per labor hour?
Yeah, it doesn't affect the meals per labor hour
Okay.
one bit. Yeah, it just
Affects the overall budget. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Estheimer.
How are you, Mr. Rodriguez? Taking a look at the some of your slides here, the proposal that you have. So I would assume that by increasing revenue and increasing your meals per labor hour, there will be opportunity to add. I mean, the more productive we are, the more money we make, the more payroll we get, because you're looking at a percentage.
Correct.
So I guess that would be the ultimate goal. I mean, declining enrollment, that's one thing, but take advantage of the students that we have there currently and try to make as much dollars out of that.
Correct. You are correct. So yeah, if we can, that was sort of my goal this year, is if we can increase lunches, then your meals per labor hour will naturally go up based on the hours that people are working. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so with this change at Anderson, if we can wow the kids and have them come in, and now they're starting to use it a lot more. Sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a year or two by the time the kids really get used to it, but that will help.
I'm concerned also if we are going to roll out a new program such as that, and it's the only way that's going to be successful is, I own a restaurant. I know that when we roll out and we have big things that we do, you got to throw some labor at it in order to make it successful. So if we have a crew that's working, that we've lightened the load a little bit to save on labor to meet our goal expectations and our revenue expectations, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure if we roll out a program and we're not prepared for it with the staffing. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that when you're rolling out that program, I would encourage you to make sure that we are kind of putting labor in front of, it's a risk that you have to take in order to make the program successful, in my opinion. The other thing is when you have, you spoke about the food service department, the other sales like at St. Pius and the Latchkey. Now those are also areas in which we're going to increase revenue, which is other opportunities. All those numbers will go up. So do you have an estimate? I didn't see in here an estimate on increase, what your anticipated increase in revenue is in each one of those areas. Do you have that calculated, or?
I do not.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can estimate it though.
Because if we have that sort of figured out ahead of time, then we can base additional staffing hours on that anticipated revenue as well, mm-hmm. And still try to get to that number that we're shooting for. Right. But as Dr. Paponio says, and as I know, you have to have a happy staff in order to have a productive staff, right, in order to feed these kids. So if there's if the problem is that there's not enough money in the program, maybe that's part of the problem that we can maybe help with somehow, and then from that point we have to roll out your successes in other districts into Southgate and see if we can get somewhere with that.
Yeah,
Mr. President.
Mr. Boone.
This might be for you, Ms. Pastor. I'm not sure. So I know, 11th, 12th grade, open campus, but if this is an issue, why exactly do we allow Uber Eats or whomever else to come into the building and deliver food to the kids? I mean, there's a lot of school districts that don't allow that. That's a systematic problem, in my opinion. And you mentioned it in your report, true?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't really know much about Uber Eats. I didn't know that they were delivering. I know that sometimes
That was just an
parents-
example, but if they're delivering food, that's
Well,
probably one of the main
We
ones.
would never stop a parent from bringing their child McDonald's if that's what they chose to do. But we would have to ask high school administration about Uber Eats or those other type of delivery. And I would also ask, do we know if some of those companies are coming in and delivering food to employees? Or do we know that they're delivering to students? And I don't know that without asking high school administration. I've not been there when I've seen vendors come in with food, so I'm not sure.
Can I add something on that? And I'm sorry, I was asking the president a question. Andy, I'm not sure if you're, but when you brought that up, it made me, someone made a comment about the possible security of our schools based on outside vendors coming. Did you approach that?
No, I didn't, but that was my next question. You know, I mean, now we're looking at if there's multiple of these organizations coming that are out there. I just threw Uber Eats out there because I know in our school district we don't allow any of them. But then the second part is how do they get this food? I mean, this is an outside vendor. I think that's a valid point that we're talking in this day and age of somebody just coming into the school district. I really think that's something we need to look at. That would be, that I would like. My second point might be a little off base, but I know we make a comparisons to Lincoln Park and Wyandotte. Where does that fall into the meals per hour or however, what's the term again? I'm sorry.
Meals per labor hour.
Meals per labor. But Lincoln Park's, everybody in Lincoln Park, correct? Federally mandated has free and reduced lunch. Doesn't that give your numbers a little higher? I mean, that's like comparing apples and oranges to me.
No, that is true. But even before we were CEP, we were very high already. So we increased student participation, but it was high already. But you know, I think Wyandotte is comparable to Southgate in some respect, and they're at 24 meals per labor hour.
This isn't for Mr. Rodriguez, this is for us, I think. I agree with Mr. Estheimer. I think we have, on this board, some discussions to be made. I mean, I'm hearing from one side, I get it, but I'm hearing from another side that 10 minutes at Davison to eat, I can tell you from personal experience at certain times that my daughter in 5th grade sometimes doesn't want to eat because she says she can't get into the line. I'm not saying she's not playing at recess first. I don't know totally. But this is a lot of information. I mean, unless I missed something, I just got this when I sat down tonight. Is that true?
That's how we get all our presentations, yeah.
So, and I like them beforehand. I've always said that, but that's a different issue. I mean, I'm seeing this for the first time to be able to process all this information in 20 minutes, hear all these people talking, which I'm not sure of. I know a little bit about my own daughter. I'm listening to Mr. Rodriguez, and I'm not saying anybody is wrong. I just think there's a lot of things for us to vet up here. I think there's some serious issues for us to take a look at up here. Just throw that out there to the public and to you, Mr. President, and to this board.
Thank you. So normally when we talk to the food director as a board, when we voice our concerns, we kind of give you something to look at and bring us back and show us what you've improved on or what you've worked on. So you guys can add to it, but what I would like to see is how you're making the employees happy, how you're addressing their concerns. If they're overworked, I want to know if that's addressed, and the wages. I want to know if they're properly paid for the time that they're there. So all of these things have been a concern. So as a board, can we get that information like after some time goes by? I'd like to know what the progress is, because as a district, we can't afford to have unhappy workers when we value their hard work and labor with just saying, oh, well, we have a budget and we can't do it. Because I personally feel like, you know, if we're spending money here or there, this is a place where we need to spend money, because these are hard workers and they are doing the job for Southgate and for our students. Right. So if you can work on those and, you know.
And to add to that, I think systematically, I think I would really like to know what this whole delivering food is and how much it's done and this and that for safety issues and other things. I just think there's a few things that we have to look at. That's not for you. I don't know if you can, I don't think you can do that, Mr. I'm not saying for you. I'm just saying for maybe us.
Our safety.
I think Mr. Rodriguez would agree with you. I think that's more of a question for,
I'll take care of that.
for high school administration.
And why they're getting Uber Eats and all these other things is they don't like the selection. Right. So what can we do? And it seems like you already have some ideas on how to improve that.
Right. Yeah, and then, just when I was hired too, I mean, one of the things, major things, was the budget. So that's what I'm focusing on, is the budget. And because the district can charge food service indirect costs, which they were unable to do last school year. Indirect costs pays for utilities, custodial, et cetera, et cetera. So that was, my charge was to make sure that we're on the right track to be profitable and that the district can get their indirect costs.
And in my opinion, at least for me, this isn't an indictment on you at all. It's just something that I think, if that's what we directed you to do and you're following what we directed you, maybe it's time for us to relook at the whole program of what we directed you to do. That's my point for everybody involved, including the kids, especially the kids and the workers, you, us, the school district.
Well, we were caught off guard too initially with the finances a few months back, so there's a lot for us to process right now.
Any other questions for Mr. Rodriguez? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I'm hungry.
All right, takes us to the consent agenda, which consists of minutes from November 13, 2018 work session and regular board meeting minutes. Number 2, HR update. I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Dr. Pomponio, supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. And then we're on to action item number 1, which is approval of position on lame duck legislative session.
So the Tri-County Allegiance, which is also referred to as TCA, issued a statement calling on the legislature to take no action on rushing legislation through during the upcoming lame duck legislative session. Last week, the State Board of Education voted to adopt the TCA statement as their own formal position on the issue. Mr. Estheimer and I will be traveling to Lansing tomorrow to meet with the governor-elect. Possibly we might be missing her, but and legislators to try to encourage them to leave all educational issues alone until after the new session begins.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, I'll bring the discussion back to the table. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion on the item?
Mr. President,
Mr. Green.
Make a motion to the approval of the position on the lame duck legislative session.
You have to read
Do I have to read the whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I wish I wouldn't have said that.
I know you're stepping on.
Tri-County Alliance issued a statement calling on the legislator to, that's you.
Just from the
motion. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just kidding. Whereas the Michigan legislature is about to commence its lame duck session, and whereas decisions made in lame duck that impact public schools and our education system often have long-term effects on the schools and children, and whereas issues that affect public education deserve thorough review and debate, and whereas ensuring proper review and debate on concepts and legislation that impact schools has the potential to create better solutions, and whereas educators, board members, and community members are willing to guide and support well-thought-out legislation, and whereas the next legislative session provides ample time for the debate, dialogue, and review of legislation that impacts children and schools, and whereas the Tri-County Alliance for Public Education encourages legislators to leave any legislative action on education policies for the next legislature and governor. Therefore, be it resolved, the Southgate School District supports the position of the Tri-County Alliance for Public Education and similarly encourages legislators to leave any legislative action on education policies for the next legislature and governor where there is time for thoughtful review.
I have a lengthy motion by Mr. Green.
I did a pretty good
Support.
job.
Is there supported by Dr. Pomponio? Okay. Any discussion on the item? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And action item number 2 is the approval of graphic arts printer.
It's me.
Oh.
You are being asked to approve the purchase of a Roland VG 540 printer cutter for the Graphic Arts Vocational Education Program. It provides many advanced learning opportunities for the program, including creating view-through perforated vinyl for windows for enhanced security measures at a considerable cost savings. The funding for this purchase is provided by the added cost carryover funds from the Downriver Career Technical Consortium. And we also have Miss Anne-Marie Barnard, our graphic arts teacher, here to talk to you more about this one new piece of equipment.
All right.
So while she's coming up, I can tell you that in our recent active intruder training, many of the administrative assistants were concerned about the public's ability to see them quickly when they enter a vestibule or a building. And unbeknownst to me, Anne-Marie was looking at purchasing this, and I actually had a company come out and give me an estimate of some of our windows, both internal and external, to create more security in the district. And did receive a quote for about $28,000 of the type of material that this machine is able to produce.
Exactly. Hi, Anne-Marie Barnard, Graphic Communications. That was just a fluke, actually. It did happen just like that. We were looking into another large format printer. This printer prints 58 inches wide. It prints, I did drop off a sheet. It even does exterior vehicle wraps for cars, you know, lots of different things. But what this material Jill was mentioning is a 50% see-through material where it's black on one side and white on the other, and it has a series of holes in it, hence 50% vinyl and 50% holes. If you go to Kroger's down the street, you see their large graphics on the outside of the buildings. You could see out very clearly, but seeing in is a little bit almost like an illusion with the eye. You see the graphics and not through the window. So at a distance, you can't really see in very well, but if you go up very close and see through those holes up very close, you can. So I think that I just found out that actually this printer that I'm looking at could help the district in security measures too as well. We could do interior windows and exterior windows. I have been working, I have about 6 or 7 students that graduated from the program that is currently going to Center for Creative Studies. And I've talked to the teachers, their professors, and they actually are working with my students and want to put together a program to kind of teach students on a work-based learning how to run the equipment and use this new technology. And they are willing to work with us and develop like graphics for the entranceways of all of our buildings so that it gives us a little bit more promotional for the entranceways of each building. And then again causes, you know, helps security. The machine will do transfers for t-shirts and things like that. The kids would be learning how to do that. It makes it die cuts vinyl too as well. You could print 4-color process CMYK plus white, so you could do transfers, heat transfers. We have the heat equipment in the classroom. You could transfer onto dark materials and light materials. It will do the like SDA stickers on your vehicles, so we can make die-cut vehicle stickers, labels, posters, banners that could be utilized in the school too as well. So it's a great learning experience for the students, and it will help the district quite a bit.
Okay.
And again, it's DCTC funds.
Right.
Carryover.
Any questions for Mr. Estime?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I could definitely see the benefits for this, and I would just ask if this is something that can be utilized district-wide, perhaps you can partner with Mr. Rodriguez.
We've already discussed that,
Perfect. Yeah,
So
I know that he's talking about some marketing initiatives, and this sounds like it's almost a marriage made in heaven.
Right, and provided funds. Yeah, that's awesome.
Athletic department too.
Yeah.
I know the basketball team's already looking at getting signs right now, so.
Right, if we can order it, they say 3 weeks delivery, and I included in the budget too a training. They'll come out and spend a half day with us and train us. We just need a PC to actually run the machine, and we have that through Miss Slivnik's room. There's a lot of extra PCs, so we'll utilize one of those from the district, and we'll get it up and running really soon. So yes, I'd be more than happy to do that. And our students would be learning a great deal. So, yeah, awesome.
Either way you want to do it.
Okay.
Did you have a question for Sam? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Dr.
Is, do we have something similar that's, that we do things like that now, or is it older?
Nothing at this level. Currently, I did have a printer that is 24 to like 42 inches wide, and I lost the hard drive on it. It was an HP T1300 unit that does posters. But this, it prints CMYK plus white. It has a die cutter too in it. So you could do sheets of, any custom-made die cuts. It will, cut them, perforate them, so you could peel them off. Nothing at that level. And marrying, or helping you out with security, or the district out with security would be awesome.
And do we have, you said DCTC funds, so we have other other schools coming to take that class for graphic arts?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Currently, Riverview, Trenton, we have Flat Rock. We at some points have Gibraltar too as well. We don't currently have it, but yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring the discussion back to the table.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion on action item number 2.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of a Roland VG 540 printer cutter from BES Solutions in an amount not to exceed $22,828.
I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Mr. Estheimer. Any discussion on the item?
I just want to clarify, so just for the audience here, so DCTS funds,
DCTC, yeah.
DCTC funds, that's the Downriver Career Technical Consortium, so that is money that does not come out of our
General fund.
General fund.
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Any
President.
discussion on the item?
Okay, so I did my homework on this, and I called Mr. Walker, and so, if you want to talk about if this is something that's going to be good for the district or for students, and so I asked the questions that I need to about, the maintenance, and this high of a price, is it comparative to other models and items like that. So this is an industrial printer cutter. It's used in businesses and schools, and they based it on the uses and needs of the school, and the model was recommended by the person who selected this model. So it is industrial, so it's made to be used all day, every day by students and many people. And this particular model is cost savings. You get cost savings over time because there's less maintenance in the program, the software inside of it. Prompts the students to do like a cleaning of the materials or areas in that machine as they go along. And the same model is used at Houghton Lake High School, and the model calibrates itself to save the ink, so that's another cost saving there. And also what I liked about it is it has software for project-based learning, so it includes activities and projects for students. So this model, again, was recommended based on the usage and the need for that particular program. So based on all that information, I looked into the specs, the maintenance of it, the longevity expectation, and student-based software and project-based learning support. I recommend it for approval.
Mr. President, we need to step back for a minute here. It looks like, unless I'm reading this wrong, it looks like that our motion for $22,828 doesn't match up to the quote when you add the supplies. The $22,827 is a subtotal. When you add the supplies, the quote that we received on the first page from BES Solutions is $28,353, which is a difference of another $5,500.
Mr. Green, that amount is correct. The board policy is that you approve any purchase of a single item over $3,500. So the supplies, there's no single item that's $3,500. That's why in the comparison I highlighted the line that said total equipment. And when we record it on the books, the $22,827.99 will go under an equipment line, and the supplies will go under teaching supplies.
But
Kind of like if we bought a copier for,
so
if we bought a copier for $20,000 and then we bought $50,000 worth of paper,
Yeah,
Right.
right.
you don't need a
right,
motion for the paper, you need a
right.
motion for
But
the
they put the
copy.
supplies as part of the,
But
to
that
get
doesn't
things
match
going
the
as-
cover page, is what they're saying.
No, it's correct, because they don't have to approve the supplies, because there's no single item on the supplies.
We don't have to, we don't have to.
That's-
It's just mixed in there.
Equipment.
That's why I highlighted that
That's
one
the
line.
toner and everything else that we don't have to,
Right,
The total for the equipment is right.
yeah, so we have the right amount in the motion.
yeah, yes.
Okay.
She's the business manager.
She's the business man.
Appreciate your attention to the detail, Mr. Green.
I'm okay with it then.
But I'm assured by staff
I
that
was just making
set.
sure.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a motion supported, we've had comments on it. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And so item I is employee representatives. Any employee representatives who'd like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, move on to information and announcements. Antonio.
I just wanted to say that the Bandorama is Friday, December 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Okay. You look like you were getting ready for something big. All right.
So the high school is presenting the Crucible at the high school on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m.
Okay.
I'll just say quickly, the superintendent already pointed out that her and I will be traveling to Lansing tomorrow, and I'll just report back, once we get back, how that worked out for us in 2 weeks. Are
Thursday.
we back on normal time?
Yeah, the first meeting is normal, right? The first meeting's normal, and then the second one's sooner.
The week after?
Opposite. We're doing it 6 p.m. Don't come at 6 a.m.
No, but I mean.
No, the days.
We're meeting in 2 weeks and then a week after that, right?
Correct.
Yeah, 2 weeks
Yeah.
and then.
So check our website for meeting times, because they're changing in December because
11th
of
and
the
the
holiday.
18th.
Right. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
By Mr. Estheimer, supported by Mr. Green. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.